The phrase capital gain denotes any profit that one earns on the sale of an asset like stocks, mutual funds, gold, real estate, etc. Now, per the Income Tax Act, not everything qualifies as a capital asset. For instance, any consumables or raw materials held for the purpose of business is not considered a capital asset. Similarly, agricultural land in India is conditionally excluded, and so are some specified gold and bearer bonds. In this video, we shall be panning our focus on some of the more popular capital assets and more specifically on the taxation that each of these different asset classes attract. In the process, we shall look at shares, mutual funds, ETFs, bonds, gold, and also real estate in understanding how taxation works in each case. Now, having said this, please do remember that we are not tax advisors, and a lot of what our research team has compiled here is after studying dozens of articles and news reports. Different authors might have different viewpoints, some rules might have gotten updated, so please use this video as a reference and always back your decisions with your own research. Let's begin. Under the income tax rules, equity shares are considered as capital assets, and as a consequence, any profits made on them are taxable. Now, equity shares can be listed or unlisted. In the case of listed shares, if the holding period, that is, the time period between the sale and the purchase of shares, is less than 12 months, then profits earned are labeled as short-term capital gains. And likewise, if the holding period is over 12 months, then that's long-term capital gains. In other words, it is this holding period that decides on the short and long-term nature of the capital asset. So while the threshold is 12 months for listed equity shares, the same changes to 24 months when it comes to unlisted shares. Now that we understand what's short-term and what's long-term, let's understand the taxation rules under both these scenarios. In the case of listed shares, the short-term capital gain or STCG is taxed at 15%, while the LTCG is taxed at 10%. This 10% is calculated after allowing an exemption of 1 lakh rupees on the aggregate long-term capital gains, and it's an exemption that is available in every financial year. In the case of unlisted shares, the STCG is taxed per the investor's income tax slab rate, while the LTCG is computed at 20%, and pleasantly, this 20% comes with indexation benefits. If you're hearing this word indexation for the first time or are uncertain of what it means and how it can help you save taxes, then do watch our video on this very topic. I'm sure you'll find it quite useful. Now, the acquisition of shares need not always come from the buying and selling in a stock exchange. Shares can be held in many other ways and situations like a rights issue, bonus shares, sweat equity, receiving shares as a gift, etc. In these cases, the calculation of the holding period is of prime importance, and the Income Tax Department has a very useful section of this on their website. For your convenience, we have attached a link of that in the description of this video. Resident Indians can invest up to $250,000 every financial year in stocks that are listed on a foreign stock exchange. From a taxation standpoint, these are treated at par with investments made in unlisted shares, which means shares held for less than 2 years are short-term and shares held over 2 years are long-term capital assets. The short-term capital gains on these foreign shares are taxed as per the investor's income tax slab, and the long-term capital gains are taxed at 20% with indexation benefits. Equity mutual funds work on the same taxation rules that we saw in the case of domestic equity shares. So the holding period threshold is 12 months, and if the capital gains are short-term, then the gains are taxed at 15% plus cess and surcharge, and if long-term, then at 10% plus cess and surcharge for gains over 1 lakh rupees. Debt mutual funds have a different holding period and tax rates as compared to equity funds. Here, any profits made within a holding period of 3 years are considered as short-term, which is then taxed per the investor's income tax slab. Long-term capital gains are taxed at 20% and come with indexation benefits. Now, a clarification that is often sought by investors is do we have the option of paying taxes at the rate of 10% without indexation rather than using the 20% with indexation structure? Well, this is a valid question because choosing a 10% without indexation or 20% with indexation was a possibility many years ago. However, this provision is not available for any mutual fund units that have been sold after the 10th of July 2014. The next category of mutual funds is hybrid funds, and as the name goes, these funds have a mix of equity, debt, and maybe some other asset classes. Now, as the rule goes, if 65% or more of the assets are invested in equities, then the fund is taxed like how a regular equity mutual fund is taxed. And if the assets are less than 65%, then the fund is taxed like a debt fund. Now, this classification is generally not a problem for most hybrid fund categories, but do notice a couple of categories here, specifically the multi-asset funds and the balanced advantage funds. In both these cases, the proportion of equities can be pretty dynamic. That is, it can be much higher than 65% or it can be a lot lower as well. So figuring out whether a particular scheme is following an equity or debt taxation might require a little more investigation on your part, and the best way of doing this is by examining the proportion of asset classes in the fact sheet that is released by the AMC on a monthly basis. Beyond equity, debt, and hybrid funds, international funds is one category that's most definitely growing in popularity. International funds are taxed like debt funds, which means there is a 3-year holding period threshold, and the short-term capital gain tax is per the income tax slab, while long-term capital gain is taxed at 20% with indexation benefits. Now, many India equity-focused mutual funds have been taking exposure in foreign stocks. While the Parag Parikh FlexiCap fund is the most cited example, our research shows that there are over 15 funds that have exposure in foreign stocks. In these funds, the tax that's applied on capital gains depends on the level of exposure. What I mean is, if the quantum of Indian stocks in a particular fund is more than 65%, then capital gains in that fund shall be taxed like any other equity-oriented fund. However, if the fund has less than 65% invested in Indian stocks, then it will be treated like a non-equity or debt fund for taxation purposes. Okay, now that we've covered equity shares and mutual funds, let's understand a few related scenarios. The first situation is on the tax treatment for investments made before the 31st of January 2018. You see, for many years, there was no tax on long-term capital gains, but that incentive was rolled back in January of 2018. Now, to account for any purchases made prior to 31st of January 2018, the concept of grandfathering was introduced, which allows investors to avail tax exemption on long-term capital gains even in the case of a continuous investment. This concept is called grandfathering, and we have an article in the description that you might want to read for a better understanding of this concept. A second consideration investors need to be wary of revolves on the fact that all computation of capital gains and its subsequent taxes are to be done using the FIFO or the first in, first out method. This is a requirement per the Income Tax Act and a rule that all investors need to follow. Exchange traded funds or ETFs are primarily of 4 types. There are the index ETFs that track the Nifty and Sensex. Then there are the sectoral ETFs, gold ETFs, and of course there are international ETFs. The first two, that is the index ETF and the sectoral ETF, are treated as equity oriented schemes for the purpose of taxation. So 12-month holding period, STCG tax at 15% and LTCG is taxed at 10% without indexation beyond an aggregate gain of 1 lakh rupees. When it comes to gold and international ETFs, these instruments are taxed as non-equity funds, which means a 36-month holding period cutoff, STCG tax per the investor's income tax slab rate, and LTCG taxed at 20% with indexation benefits. Much like equity shares, bonds too can be listed or unlisted, which then has a bearing on the applicable capital gain tax. Listed debt instruments include debentures, Government of India securities, corporate bonds, tax-free bonds, etc. And the holding period threshold for these is 12 months. So less than 12 months is short term, and a holding of over 12 months makes it a long-term capital asset. And consequently, STCG is taxed at the investor's income tax slab rates, whereas LTCG comes at either 20% with indexation or 10% without indexation, whichever is more beneficial to the investor. However, one should note that this indexation benefit is available only in a few select scenarios, such as in the case of a government issued capital index bond or the RBI issued sovereign gold bonds. When it comes to unlisted bonds and debentures, the bifurcation of a short and long-term capital asset happens over a 36-month holding period. Much like the listed bonds, here too a short-term capital gain is taxed as per the investor's income tax slab. However, when taxing the long-term capital gains, it is done at 20% but without any indexation benefits. Gold can be purchased in different forms. The most common approach is to buy it in the physical form, as in jewelry, gold coins and bars. And then there are financial gold products like digital gold, gold ETFs, gold mutual fund, and of course the sovereign gold bonds. In fact, we have a comprehensive video comparing these 5 types of gold buying options. So if you haven't watched that yet, this is one video that we will certainly recommend. Now, when it comes to taxation, a common set of rules apply on 4 of these 5 products. What I mean is, physical gold, digital gold, gold ETFs and gold mutual funds all have a holding period threshold of 3 years. STCG is taxed per the investor's income tax slab, and the LTCG tax is at 20% with indexation benefits. In the case of sovereign gold bonds, all capital gains are tax-free at the time of the bond's 8-year maturity period. However, in case one exits these bonds by selling it via the secondary market, then the STCG and LTCG tax rules that we saw with gold ETFs, gold mutual funds and digital gold becomes applicable to these pre-maturity sales as well. At this point, I'd like to put forth that there is some confusion on the holding period of these scenarios. Our researchers went through many articles on the subject, but we couldn't be 100% sure of what would be the holding period, as some articles say 1 year while others say 3 years. So do check that out with your tax advisor, and if you can share your findings in the comments box below, then it will surely be of great help to everyone on this channel. Immovable property like real estate operates on a holding period threshold of 2 years. From a taxation point of view, short-term capital gains are taxed per the investor's income tax slab rate, while long-term cap gains are computed at 20% with indexation benefits. In fact, the buying and selling of real estate has many rules and conditions, like a TDS of 1% for properties over 50 lakhs, reporting of the purchase and sale of immovable property over 30 lakhs to the IT department, limits on quoting the PAN, etc. So if you are into property, then be very sure of what these taxes are, and more specifically how capital gain taxes can be deferred within the allowances of the Income Tax Act. A more communal version of investing in real estate are the real estate investment trusts, or REITs. REITs are in its infancy in India and are expected to have more teeth in the future. And while they seem like a mutual fund, it's not as straightforward as it seems, as we had explained in a video that explains the ins and outs of how REITs work and how you can make money through it. Now, presently, there are 2 types of REITs. The first are the listed REITs, the ones you can buy from your trading account, like the Embassy Office Parks, Mindspace Business Parks and Brookfield India. In case of these listed REITs, the holding period threshold is 36 months and an STCG attracts a 15% tax, while an LTCG is taxed at 10% on gains exceeding 1 lakh rupees. The second type of REITs are the mutual fund kind, and there are some international fund of fund REITs which are available to investors within the mutual fund space. There is the Kotak International REIT Fund of Funds, and then there are some newly launched or to be launched ones by Mahindra Manulife and PGIM mutual funds. Since these are international funds and the fund of fund kinds, the capital gain from these funds are taxed much like debt funds. which means we follow a 3-year holding period threshold. The STCG is taxed per the investor's income tax slab, and the LTCG is taxed at 20% with indexation benefits. So every asset class we have discussed today, and even the variations within the asset class, has a very different tax rule attached to it, and we sincerely hope this video has helped you see some of these subtle disparities. Once again, we've researched and re-researched the content we have shared in this video to the best of our abilities, but nevertheless, please do verify the information provided and consult with your tax advisor before acting upon it. We wish you the very best and look forward to catching up with you next week with another insightful video. Until then.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.